Well, of all the predators and animals in the world, I think polar bear is probably at the apex, the top. Have you heard of that story of the animal researchers in northern Canada and one of them got attacked by a polar bear? It's pretty wild. And so they're up in Canada researching beluga whales, and there's this researcher, her name is Aldina. I have to fact check me on that, but Aldina, so they're up there researching beluga whales. Their plan is to catch beluga whales, and they set up camp. And where they set up camp is close to this hot spot of polar bears, where polar bears go to rest, to eat their food. And so she hears about this. She's kind of worried about it, but she's there to do research. And while they're there at the camp, she sees 2 seals. And so she, being a researcher, grabs her camera, goes to take pictures of the seals. And while she's taking pictures of those seals, she has this weird feeling, kind of the hair standing up on the back of your neck. Funny how that usually happens before animal attacks. There's this innate sense that humans have that they feel something's wrong. And so she starts looking around, trying to find out what's going on. Lo and behold, she sees a polar bear. She didn't really know what to do. Just instinct kicked in, so she started to run. She saw the polar bear, got scared, and started to run. And before she knew it, by the time she took 5 steps, the polar bear had already caught up to her, swiped at her, pinned her down, jumped on top of her, and started just going at her. She did all she could to cover her neck. She just put her back to the polar bear. So he's just slamming her back, slamming her body, and she just starts screaming. That's her only hope. She starts screaming. She's close enough to her camp to where the other researchers could hear her scream. So she's screaming. This polar bear's just going at her. And luckily, her other researchers come running. One of them has a rifle, and he sees the polar bear, takes a shot at it, misses, but the sound of the rifle startled the polar bear. So the polar bear looks up, and luckily this guy with the rifle realizes, oh, this sound kind of scares the polar bear. So he shoots again, doesn't aim at it, just shoots. And luckily the polar bear hears the sound and then kind of runs away. And luckily they were able to get her to a hospital, boat her out, life flight her out, get her to that hospital. She ended up with over 400 stitches in her body, but she did recover. But I just think polar bears, the size of them, the quickness, and just their temperament most of all, just makes them probably the baddest, the most apex predator out there in the animal kingdom.